Good morning. Senate Democrats are focused on affordability, and one way we can control costs is to make sure the Senate does its job. There is no more rubber stamp Senate. That's what our goal is this year, is to make sure that we are a governing body on this side of the Capitol. Last year, capital gains fiscal note was off by hundreds of millions of dollars. Congressional maps double counting voting districts and voters in two different districts. The state budget office just the other day made a $265 million mistake. Asking the wrong senators to sponsor appointees, these are things that are happening currently. And the Speaker of the House drafting his #1 priority to the wrong section of the Constitution. And we want to thank the Speaker for apparently, I guess they must have listened to the Senate, how we brought this out. We were the first to bring that out, and I believe he's drafted a new HJR. Has a lot of double speak and politician speak, and it's going to be very, very hard to understand for the voters. But there's a new one out there, and we're dissecting that as we look. We do know one thing: it does raise taxes on Missourians. And those are just the ones we know about. We don't know what else is out there. The more time we have here, the more time we're finding more and more mistakes that have been made, that are currently being made. And we want to get back to a point to where the Senate does its job. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
The new HJR version, the corrected language points to the provisions from MoDOT that say that any tax on fuel has to go to highway purposes to exempt the new sales tax from that provision. It would be the first time in the state's history since we've been taxing motor fuel to use it for something other than highways. How do you think Missourians are going to react to sales taxes on their motor fuel?
I think they're going to be upset. I think they're going to be upset because there's a lot of this, from one hand to the other hand, the transparency is not there. They talk about everything being transparent, but then as we look through these things, there's a lot of different items in there. There's the ability, it looks like maybe to cap some things at the local level and start taking away revenues that the local people feel is important for their areas. So as we look at this thing, I mean, the whole tax scheme in general, I'm just going to be honest with you, I think is ill-conceived, especially when we have 8 bordering states, and nobody's even addressed that. Our 2 biggest population centers are on Illinois and Kansas, and people can just go over and do a lot of their shopping or go get their hair cut or whatever service they may want, get their car worked on, buy a car. In the case of Kansas, they can go get their hair cut, buy a car, and go see a Chiefs game, come back to Missouri. That's kind of where we're headed. So I don't see this as an economic driver for the state. I don't see this as helping anything personally. And maybe somebody's going to sit down with us and tell us that it's not the case. Senate Democrats are not against getting rid of income tax. If we can do that and keep levels of service and all those other things, then we're there.
We're also exempting it from the revenue limitations of the Constitution. Is that kind of the trust us scenario, what they're putting out?
So if you remember, I guess 2015, a lot of these things happened to and Hancock, where we can only raise taxes so far. It might be 80 or 90 million. Somebody would have to do that in a year's time. We can raise things. However, anything of any substitute has to go to the vote of the people. They're taking that away. And they're saying the legislature knows better than the people, just like they've done in the past, whether it was women making their own medical decisions, whether it's when folks wanted to have earn sick leave, they're taking that away from the people because they're saying the people can't make those decisions. That's what Republicans are doing.
On the budget proposal, there are no across-the-board pay raises. Is that something that Democrats want to see, or are the fiscal warnings taking root?
Well, they've painted this picture, and this is, I'm just going to be honest, that this entire budget crisis, which is going to get worse and worse and worse as we go on, they've done this. They've made this happen. They've taken away revenues. They've, every time it clicks down as 265 million or whatever it is, they're taking away revenues from the state, and they're taking away these services, and people are getting impacted. All day long yesterday, I had people coming to my office, and these are the most vulnerable people in this state, and they're concerned because they're going to get cut, and their care, and all these other things, and none of this had to happen. So let's be clear that these are choices that they've made over the time, because when the only idea you have is to cut taxes and not care about what the ramifications are, and that's your only idea. And let's look at it. For 25 years, they said it was going to boom the economy. We're stagnant. The governor even said it in his speech. We're stagnant. The state is not growing. Their policies don't work. And it's hurting Missourians, and it's going to hurt them even more. I have people coming in there, and sometimes you almost feel helpless. It's like we're going to do what we can. We're going to try to get some money put into these budgets. Look at what these sources, but they keep cutting these revenues. They keep giving billionaires tax breaks, and now they want to shift the burden onto the people that least can afford it. You know. And by the way, you can talk to any of my colleagues here too. So, but. I feel very passionate about this. This state is headed in the wrong direction. This is why young people don't want to stay here. There's a whole lot going on in this state that needs to get fixed. And this current course it's getting worse. What they've done here is getting worse. People are running for their next election. Senate Democrats are not doing that. We want to try to govern. We want to try to help Missourians. Sorry, this almost feels like a filibuster. I apologize. But it's frustrating in so many different levels that these are self-imposed crises that the Republicans have done to this state.
Speaking of filibusters, sometimes they are used to extract promises from someone else. Have you asked for anything by holding these appointment filibusters, saying, we'll sit down if you let us have all our bills go through, or whatever?
Well, I put 3 resolutions, I believe, into it will be a start to a conversation. I've been very, very transparent. If you listen to anything on the floor, which I don't, most people probably don't, been very, very transparent. We want the Senate to work. We want the Senate to do what it's supposed to do. We want the Senate to be able to do advise and consent on appointees like they used to do. That's something that's in the Constitution we're supposed to do. Yeah, so we want the Senate to work. We want the Senate to not try to steamroll us and be the House. And when I say steamroll us, I'm saying Missourians, because what they've done is they've taken away from Missourians.
What were your immediate thoughts, reactions, or feelings when you learned about the error in Speaker Patterson's bill?
It was it just proves our point that everything is going too fast. It seemed like this session got shot out of a cannon. It was crazy. I mean, I've never seen a session start this fast. And I know it's the second year of the session, but I've never seen it happen this fast. And boom, we're up and running and all these things, and mistakes are being made. And the way the process works in the legislature is you have a bill, you fix it. But these are basic. These are really like basic mistakes. These are mistakes that should have not happened. That should have been caught. Nobody read the thing. Obviously.
Democrats have said their intent is to slow things down. You said that their intent is to slow things down, make things more, take it more deliberatively.
I like the word deliberative instead of slow down. We want to make it deliberative. We want to ask the questions. We want to go ahead.
These appointments will they get through? The second thing is the first supplemental budget bill apparently has a timeline in it with some FIFA money that once we get it, it has 45 days to be delivered to the Kansas City Police Department and the other entities that are going to use it. Do those the deadline for the appointments is these people at the end of the month, 45 days for that budget bill. Do those deadlines mean anything to Democrats as they're trying to get a more deliberative body?
So I just want to be clear, we don't say what's going to be on the floor here. Democrats don't. Republicans choose what they're going to have out there and talk about. They have the power at any time to get these appointments. We're not under any illusions of any of these things. So whatever happens will not be my responsibility. We are trying to restore the Senate. And we're going to do that in a way we've been nice. I'm offering for somebody to come talk to me. If they want to talk to me, we'll have that conversation. If we come to some sort of solution to where we can actually let the Senate work, senators be senators and actually do what they're supposed to do, what they worked really hard to get here on both sides of the aisle, we'd be more than happy to have those conversations. I would bring back whatever was offered to our caucus, and we would have that discussion. Plenty of time to do a whole lot of things. I don't really want to talk about budget. I'm just doing what's in front of me. And right now we adjourn, you know, and we're getting ready to go home, and apparently going to have a snowmageddon coming, or maybe not, which means it'll probably be 80 degrees and warm. I don't know. So, but yeah, I just want to be clear that we're trying to be deliberative. We're trying to bring back a sense of the Senate that has been lost.
The Missouri Senate, according to the National Conference of State Legislators, is one of, if not the only, state legislative body in the country that doesn't offer live video streaming of floor proceedings or committees. I know there's some talk from some people in the building about trying to get some cameras in here and in committees. Is that something that you would support? So
a couple of things. Yeah, I think, you know, and sometimes I've been on both sides of this thing, but now I see one of the things I did not know was happening. So during COVID, people were allowed to do testimony by email to committees. They no longer can do that. And we have a lot of people that have disabilities and some other things that can't, you know, have their voice heard, and they're Missourians like everybody else. So I think that is something that I would love to see come back. And that might be something we can do through administration committee that we're on and have that conversation. I think that would be a start, but making it more accessible to folks. The building itself is not accessible. That might be a bigger task, but you know, I mean, just because you have a bathroom that looks like it's accessible, getting into the bathroom is another whole thing. But to your point, maybe video, maybe it is time to have video. My concern is, and I would say that I would never do this, but I wouldn't say any of my colleagues would. If you start doing video and a thing that's going to become a theater and a show out there and people running for their next office, I think that's part of the fear factor. As far as on the floor, just my take. Again, my colleagues may have a different opinion, but I think a committee, it might be important to have that accessibility for it, so at least people can know what's going on, you know. Yeah.
Okay.